Sure. I One of the things I really loved about the book was that it's a very long opening chapter that, well, and it could have even been longer, because what it does, it sets the entire history of the idea of veganism, and the contributions that have been made to it over 2,500 years by ancient Greeks, ancient Indians, ancient philosophers, the Buddha, right the way up to the present day. And what is good about that, and it interweaves the story with, your story, your personal story, and the story of this case, is that it places this moment in the long history of all of these people who have fought for animals and have fought for sort of respectful relationships with non-human beings. And what it does, it establishes the fact that this has always been an ongoing battle with, like, the mainstream status quo of the way that we have relationships with animals. But what it shows is evidence of lots of successes and lots of ideas that will not die along the way. And it requires people to do that, and it requires action. And one of the things you say about the book very much is that, like, we act on our beliefs. We don't just reflect upon them; we act on them. And this entire moment, and this, the pre-hearing and the hearing, the tribunal and the employment case, they are acts that have changed the social state, the social setting and status for vegans to go forward. And I learned an awful lot about the book. I learned a great deal about your personal stories, your backstory, the zoology, the wasps, the monkeys, like everything there, and your long-term commitment to animals. So not just, at the heart of veganism is our respect and relationship with animals. And what I found out about the case specifically was about, the real detail, again, as Joe just said, the detail that was there and that was always there. And as Peter said, the league should never have defended it, because what is very clear from the details that you put forward in the book is the cast iron case that you had from the beginning. So for me, the weaving of those three stories, it's very Aristotelian, really, in a way, isn't it? Sort of like, like harking back to some of the great Greek philosophers who actually, like Pythagoras and Porphyry, who talk about sort of like our relationships with animals. It's a wonderful book for placing what we do now as vegans and acting on our beliefs for animals in the context of what has gone before. And I think that's really critical, because actually people in the movement who have been in the movement for a long time roll their eyes a little bit at all of the people who come along with the new ideas, and go, we tried that 30 years ago, And what we've needed for a long time is actually a really very accessible, big chapter on that history. And you provide some of the groundwork for that in terms of the long history, which I think is great. And just one last thing before I let other people talk about it, is that one of the things I like about it, and that within the vegan movement, within the animal rights movement, there is often this debate between, or this tension between, sort of the pragmatists and the idealists. Like, can we take small steps? Do we have to hold to sort of like, idealist positions? And actually, your book blends that perfectly. It says, don't let's waste our arguments on each other, people. Come on, there's exploitation of animals taking part. And the thing, there's one, and perhaps it's something to do with the fact that English is your second language, which you speak perfectly. But the fact is, when it's your second, it's not your first language. It's not the one you grew up with. But therefore, put together with your detailed mindset, when you want to say something, you really think about how to say it. And there's this one phrase upon this battle between sort of idealism and pragmatism that I've really underlined, is what unifies all ethical vegans is not their success in avoiding animal exploitation, but their effort in doing it, considering the circumstances. And that, for me, really sums up what this book is about, because that's exactly what you've done in this case. It's exactly what's happened with the people who supported you in this case. And it's exactly part of the way that we can move forward. Like, it's idealism and pragmatism together. And actually, this book really does a great job of blending those two.